Wall Street is looking at your industry and asking a very simple question. How many of these can we buy? So right now, while you're running your business, while you're answering calls, dealing with customers, managing your team, trying to make payroll, trying to make sure everything gets done, this is the question that Wall Street is asking. And I want you to really think about that because this isn't a conspiracy theory. This isn't me trying to scare you. This is happening. And I believe the businesses that are going to be in the best position to survive what's coming are the businesses that actually understand what's happening before it shows up at their front door. So let me explain what I mean. This episode is being delivered by my AI avatar. I wrote the script, I reviewed it, and I approved it. Same thinking, same framework, same move worth. I use this technology so I can spend more of my time diagnosing real business problems instead of sitting in front of a camera. Over the last decade, private equity firms have been quietly buying up local businesses all across the country. And I'm not talking about technology companies. I'm not talking about Silicon Valley startups. I'm talking about your neighbors. The HVAC company that's been in your community for 30 years, the dental practice down the street, the veterinary clinic, the plumber, the roofing company, the home services contractor, the funeral home, the car wash, businesses that most people would look at and just assume are still locally owned, locally operated small businesses. In a lot of cases, they're not. And the way this works is actually pretty straightforward. A private equity firm identifies an industry where you have a lot of small independent businesses. These businesses generally have loyal customers. They have good reputations. They may have recurring revenue. They've been operating successfully for years. But digitally and sometimes operationally, they're not very structured. So the firm buys one, then they buy another one, then they buy 5 more, then 10 more. And once they have enough of them, they begin centralizing things. They centralize the back office. They centralize management. They centralize marketing. They put systems in place. They start running digital campaigns at a level and at a scale that an individual small business owner generally isn't going to be able to match dollar for dollar. And before long, what used to be a local market made up of independent business owners is now, at least partially, a portfolio of companies being managed by a holding company somewhere else. Now, the business owner who sells may get a check and retire, or they may stay with the business, except now they're an employee of a company they used to own. There's a pattern I see in almost every small business I work with. They have the tools, they have the subscriptions. What they don't have is connection. The website doesn't feed the CRM. The CRM doesn't trigger follow-ups. The follow-ups aren't tracked. And reporting, it's a guessing game. That's dusty digital, not because the tools are bad, but because nobody wired them together. The fix isn't more tools, it's better structure. Let's keep going. But what I really want you to think about is the owner who didn't sell, because now that owner is competing with a professionally managed, digitally optimized company that has institutional resources behind it. And they may be trying to compete with a website that hasn't been touched since 2019, a CRM they pay for but barely use, and a marketing strategy that is basically word of mouth and hope. And I want to be clear here. I'm not blaming private equity. Private equity is doing what capital does. It finds opportunity, it finds inefficiency, and then it takes advantage of it. The more important question for me is this: why are so many of these businesses so easy to roll up in the first place? And when you really look at it, a lot of times the answer is structure. There's no real digital infrastructure. There are no documented systems. There's very little visibility into the data. There's not a lot of operational leverage. The business works because the owner knows how the business works. The relationships are in the owner's head. The processes are in the owner's head. The history is in the owner's head. The way things get done is based on reputation and relationships and muscle memory. And the problem with that is All of that walks out the door when the owner walks out the door. That's the vulnerability. Private equity isn't necessarily buying these businesses because the businesses are failing. In many cases, it's exactly the opposite. They're buying businesses that have been successful. The issue is that the success is fragile. One owner, one set of relationships, one person who knows how everything works, very little documentation, very few systems. And because that business depends so heavily on the owner, that fragility affects what the business is worth and how transferable it actually is. Now, if you think this is something that only happens in technology or finance or these big sophisticated industries, just look at what's being consolidated. Home services, HVAC, plumbing, electrical, roofing, pest control. Private equity firms have been rolling these businesses up at an accelerating rate. And when you look at those industries, you can understand why. They're fragmented. They have strong local customer relationships. There's recurring revenue potential. And you have a lot of operators who are very, very good at the actual service they provide, but they may not have the digital infrastructure to compete at scale. So one firm can own dozens of HVAC companies in multiple states. Those companies may all have different names. To the customer, it still looks like the same local company they've always known. But behind the scenes, the infrastructure is centralized. Healthcare services, same thing. Dental practices, veterinary clinics, dermatology offices, urgent care. Buy the practice, keep the local name, centralize the operations, centralize the marketing. And now that independent practice is competing against an organization that can spend significantly more money on Google Ads and has a system behind every lead that comes through the door. Professional services are seeing it too, and accounting firms, insurance agencies, staffing companies. And these are especially interesting because a lot of these businesses are relationship businesses. The owner is the business. Clients work with the company because they know the owner. They trust the owner. The owner knows the history. The owner knows the client. The owner knows how everything gets done. So what happens when the owner is ready to retire? What exactly is being transferred? If there are no systems, no documented processes, no infrastructure that works independently of that founder, you've created a serious problem. And this is expanding. Car washes, laundromats, landscaping companies, daycares. Anywhere you have a market with lots of small independent operators that are operationally and digitally unstructured, there is an opportunity for somebody with capital and systems to come in and consolidate. Now, here's the piece that I really want small business owners to understand. When you're competing with an institutionally backed company, the biggest issue is not necessarily whether their product is better than yours. It's not necessarily whether their service is better than yours. It's not even necessarily whether their price is better than yours. It's the infrastructure. Because when that competitor comes into your market, they may not be better at fixing an air conditioner. They may not be better at replacing a roof. They may not be better at doing somebody's taxes. What they are very likely to be better at is being found, capturing the lead, following up with the lead, converting the lead, keeping the customer. That's systems. Their website ranks well because somebody is consistently working on it. Their landing pages convert because somebody is testing them. Their follow-up happens quickly because the process is automated. They get reviews because they have a system that asks customers for reviews. Their CRM actually contains useful information because somebody configured it properly and the business actually uses it. And none of that requires you to be a giant company. That's the part I want you to understand. You don't have to become them. You have to become more structured. Because you're probably not going to outspend institutional capital. That's not a reasonable strategy. But you can absolutely build better structure inside of your own business. You can build a digital infrastructure that captures your leads. You can make sure those leads get followed up with. You can track what's happening. You can know where your customers are coming from. You can see what you're spending and what you're getting back. You can connect the different pieces of technology inside your business so that they actually work together instead of having one platform over here, another platform over there, another subscription somewhere else, and none of them communicating. And when you combine that kind of structure with something that local businesses already have, which is real relationships and real trust in the community, that becomes very difficult to compete with. You've got the relationships and you've got the systems. That combination matters. And this is where this conversation gets bigger for me, because this isn't just about CRMs and websites and Google Ads. It's about the American dream. Small businesses employ people locally. They serve people locally. They spend money locally. They sponsor the little league team. They hire somebody's son or daughter. They use another local company to fix the roof or print the signs or do the accounting. There is an ecosystem around these businesses. And when ownership leaves the community, something changes. The jobs may still be there. The company name may still be there. The trucks may still have the same logo on the side. But the ownership, the economic power is somewhere else. And I think that matters, because part of the American dream has always been this idea that you can start something of your own. You can take whatever it is that you're good at, whatever skill you have, whatever service you know how to provide, and you can build a business around it. You can create your own schedule. You can create an income for yourself. You can create jobs for other people. And if you do it well enough and long enough, maybe you create something that you can pass down to your kids. Maybe you create generational wealth. That has always been a part of the promise. And right now, that promise is under pressure. Not because of AI, not because of social media, not because technology itself is somehow the enemy. It's under pressure because of consolidation. Because Main Street is being systematically acquired by Wall Street. And I believe the businesses that are going to be best positioned through that shift are not automatically going to be the biggest businesses. They're going to be the businesses that are structured, the ones that know their numbers, the ones that can serve their customers efficiently, the ones that have documented processes, the ones that can continue to operate even when the owner isn't standing in the middle of everything, telling everybody what to do. That's why I talk so much about digital infrastructure, because for a local business, this is not just about being more modern. It's not about having the newest software. It's not about chasing technology. Digital infrastructure can become economic defense. Now, I don't want you watching this thinking that you need to panic. That's not what I'm saying. Not every industry is getting consolidated tomorrow. Not every small business is in immediate danger. That's not the point. The point is that the trend is real. And if pressure is moving towards your industry, the time to prepare for that pressure is before it gets there, not while you're in the middle of it. And the good news is the things we're talking about here are not necessarily complicated. A clean CRM, a website that works, documented processes, data that you can actually see and understand, systems that are connected. These are things that a small business can do. You don't need a Wall Street budget to get your business structured. You need a structured approach. There's a difference. So here's something I would suggest that you do. Go search your industry and add the words private equity or add the words roll up and just see what comes back. See what's happening. See whether firms are already acquiring businesses that look like yours. And if they are, again, that's not a reason to panic. It's information. Now you know. And once you know, you can prepare instead of react. Then I want you to do something that may be a little uncomfortable. Look at your business the way an acquirer would look at it. Not the way you look at it, not based on how hard you've worked, not based on how much you love your customers. Look at the actual operation. If somebody came in tomorrow and evaluated your business, what would they see? Would they see a business that works because you work? Or would they see a business with systems, with data, with documented processes, with an infrastructure that somebody else could understand and operate? That answer tells you a lot about where your work is. And stop assuming that being great at your craft by itself is going to be enough. You absolutely have to be great at what you do. That's the foundation. We're going to assume that. But there was a time when your primary competition was another local independent company down the street. In that environment, reputation and relationships could carry you a long way. That environment is changing because if the business down the street is now backed by a centrally managed organization with professional marketing, automated follow-up, strong data, and institutional resources, reputation alone is no longer enough. You need the reputation and you need the infrastructure. You need both. And then I want you to think about one more thing. Let's say 5 years from now, you decide you want to sell your business. What exactly is somebody buying? Are they buying your name? Are they buying your personal relationships? Are they buying everything that happens to be stored in your head? Or are they buying a functioning operation? A business with documented systems, clean data, predictable processes, a business that knows how leads come in, knows how those leads get converted, knows how customers are retained, and knows how the operation works without the founder having to personally touch every piece of it. Because the answer to that question does more than determine what your business might be worth. It tells you whether you've actually built something that can survive without you. And to me, that's a real business. So yes, Wall Street is buying Main Street. That is happening. But that does not mean the outcome is already decided. The local businesses that get structured, that build real digital infrastructure, that document how they operate, that connect their systems, and build a company that does not depend entirely on one person. Those businesses put themselves in a completely different position. They don't just become harder to displace, they become more valuable. And in some cases, they may become too valuable to sell. That's what we're trying to build, not hype, not whatever platform somebody tells you that you have to buy this week, not the newest trend. Infrastructure, structure that lasts. Because the American dream does not defend itself. The people who own the businesses on Main Street have to defend it. And one of the best ways I know to do that is to build a business that is structured to last. We'll talk soon. Your digital infrastructure is the plumbing behind the walls, invisible when it works, catastrophic when it doesn't. Give us a like for the YouTube algorithm and go ahead and subscribe now. Every episode, we break down how to get it right, structured, stable, built to last.